He's a talentless boy who transfers to a school of elites and ends up living with 3 genius sisters while trying to fulfill his mother's final wish. The story begins with a painfully average boy named Yu who gets transferred to the Seika Academy of the Elites only because his mom happens to be a legendary prodigy who graduated from there. Yu steps into the boxing ring and gets absolutely wrecked by the vice captain of the martial arts club, who calls him a pathetic weakling. Seeing his poor performance, the crowd doesn't hold back either, tossing insults left and right. Wondering how someone this clueless could possibly be the son of Sabara Ayase, Yu gets back on his feet, trying to fire himself up with memories of his late mother, whose beauty and acting skills were admired across the globe. Sabara was so gifted that she graduated at the top of her class from a prestigious international university. His opponent, in a strange twist of encouragement, tries to stir something inside Yu, claiming that the school's 3 royals are waiting to witness the hidden power within him. But Yu keeps insisting that he's never been into sports or received any kind of training, yet everyone continues to dump their expectations on him. Frustrated, he yells out the obvious truth that he's not his mother and charges straight at the trainer in what looks like a dramatic burst of untapped power. The crowd braces themselves, expecting something huge, only for Yu to land a couple of soft pokes that don't even make the trainer flinch. The trainer dude gets angry and slams our guy straight into the ground, making it painfully clear once again that Yu is nothing more than a disappointment. Everyone who had placed their hopes on him gets smacked in the face with cold, hard reality. But this isn't anything new for Yu. He's been carrying this weight since the moment he showed up in the world. Yu then smirks and throws a jab at the trainer, tossing out some half-cooked line about how the more average someone is, the more they obsess over talent like it's some holy grail. For a second, the trainer catches this strange spark in Yu's eyes, a familiar intensity that mirrors the gaze of a top-tier actress. He realizes that Yu probably failed to walk away with Sabara's skills, but there's no denying he ended up with her looks. Still, the trainer shakes it off as Yu turns to walk away. Right then, his sidekick comes rushing over, reminding him that the royals are watching this rookie like hawks. That little reminder finally pushes him off the deep end, and now he decides he's just going to beat the talent into him, lifting his arm to deliver one last brutal move meant to whip Yu into shape. But just before the punch can land, an orange-haired fighter storms in from out of nowhere and sends the trainer flying, calling him a complete disgrace to martial arts for picking a fight with amateurs. Everyone in the dojo calls her captain. Right then, a blue-haired and a green-haired lady strut in like they're crashing a concert, demanding to know how the actress's son did on the test. The blue-haired one is Kazuki, famous enough that her show tickets vanish before they even hit the shelves. The green-haired one is Miwa, the youngest title holder in shogi, because apparently, some people peak before puberty. As for the orange-haired fighter who jumped in earlier, it turns out she's Nico from the athlete program, a martial arts champ with a flawless record and an ego to match. The crowd loses its screaming, because these 3 drama queens are none other than the school's so-called 3 royals. Kazuki steps forward and demands to know how well Sabara's son did in the test, hoping they could squeeze a 4th royal out of him, but the trainer dude shoots the down by calling the boy a mediocre noob whose talent probably registers in the negative. The 3 hotshot ladies tell our boy flat out that there's no use for someone like him at their school. Yu pulls out a shiny paper and tells them he couldn't care less because he has already made up his mind to join the general education program. The 3 ladies look like they've just heard a myth because none of them even knew their school had such a thing. And before the boy can walk out of there with whatever dignity he has left, he ends up being dragged into cleaning the dojo since losers apparently scrub floors. By evening, when Captain Nico and her squad show up at the dojo for their training session, they all scream like they saw a ghost because the place is actually spotless for once. Apparently, the trash dwellers have never seen the dojo this freakishly clean. While heading back home, Yu quietly wonders how he has never once denied being a disappointment. Ever since he was a kid, he craved the kind of praise his mother used to get. But it didn't take long for him to figure out that while his mom was a walking prodigy, he was just some average nobody. As he tried every possible talent he could get his hands on, he slowly ended up pushing himself further away from his mom. There was this one drama she acted in where she played a housewife, and even though that was way too low profile for someone of her caliber, both Yu and his mom adored the show. When his mother got hit with a terminal illness, the two talked about how their favorite part of the show was the bit where each episode ends with a family dinner. That was the first time in years his mother opened up to him properly, and that's when Yu finally realizes she had always dreamed of having a family as warm and beautiful as the one in the show. Sadly, that little happy moment doesn't last too long. And the lady ends up kicking the bucket after asking her son to go and find himself a happy family. The boy packs his things, and while hoping to make up for everything he and his mother missed out on, he heads to Mikadono's place. The mansion's owner sends him the keys along with a note telling him he can sneak in whenever he wants. As he steps inside, he gets completely thrilled seeing how massive the place is. He starts wondering who this Mr. Mikadono even is, and just as he sits down to unpack his stuff, Nico shows up in full attack mode, desperate to knock out what she thinks is a burglar who broke into her house. Our guy tries explaining that he's not who she thinks he is, but the shabby lady ends up slipping and falling flat on the floor like a cut scene out of a cheap comedy. Yu takes this golden moment to mock her, throwing in that even prodigies hit the floor sometimes, then tosses a towel on her as if he's doing charity. Right then, Miwa and Kazuki show up and ask what this boy is doing in their house, and Nico's quick to point out he's clearly a burglar. As our hero tries to figure out why these royals are even here, he gets a call from Mikadono himself. The man asks if he's found the place and goes on to explain that his late mother was not only his friend, but also his benefactor, which is why he's now returning the favor. The shady mister then adds that he forgot to tell him that he has 3 daughters and tells the boy to get along with them. Yu turns toward the sisters, remembering his mother's dying wish, and starts thinking that now he actually has to become a family with the 3 Mikadono girls. To him, this whole situation feels nothing short of a dream. Living with 3 gifted cuties sounds like a blessing from the heavens. The girls, however, don't look too thrilled about the arrangement, but since their dad's the one calling the shots, they have no choice but to play along. Still, the boy manages to pull himself together and properly introduces himself again, hoping to get to know them better. Right then, the boy realizes something terrifying. The entire mansion looks like a pig pen dressed up as a house, covered in mess everywhere. Apparently, Kazuki was in charge of the dishes, but she made some half-baked excuse about not having time. In truth, she did try, but ended up breaking every single dish and gave up in frustration. Meanwhile, Miwa and Nico were supposed to handle the laundry and cleaning, but judging by how they look and move, they seem like the kind of disasters that need cleaning themselves. After getting roasted right where it hurts, the ladies quickly switch gears and start dragging our boy by bringing up how he barely managed a miserable 45 on the aptitude test, though Yu doesn't let that slide and mocks them by correcting it to 42. While the 3 of them keep bickering and throwing around useless complaints, they glance around and slowly notice that everything is suddenly shining like a 5-star hotel lobby. Turns out, while they were busy running their mouths, the boy had already turned into some sort of cleaning wizard. The next morning, our boy wakes up hoping to get to know the ladies better over breakfast since there's no school today. He plans to rest up a little, but that idea dies quickly thanks to non-stop earthquakes shaking the whole place, which turns out to be Nico casually splitting tiles with her bare fists in her personal dojo. After witnessing that madness, he heads over to check on the others. Miwa's busy playing shogi and arguing with an AI, while Kazuki looks like she's running a drug lab, tossing random stuff into a blender and making a suspicious milkshake that might either poison someone or kill them outright. When he asks what she's doing, Kazuki mocks him and says it's just their version of a morning routine, the same way people like him need to brush their teeth and do other basic stuff. As Yu tries suggesting dinner together, the eldest Mikadono daughter tells him to handle the house since they'll all be out with packed schedules and rehearsals. He then turns to Miwa to invite her for breakfast, but she's already downing juice, probably fueling her brain with all the sugar it needs. Feeling crushed, the non-prodigy in a house full of geniuses walks to the kitchen, thinking how it's just like it used to be with his mom, who only ever cooked for herself. Proving just how self-centered prodigies can get, he wonders how he failed to connect with his own family, yet somehow thought he could pull that off with complete strangers. Just when he sits down to enjoy breakfast, Nico walks in. Though she clearly wants to eat all the neatly baked food, she controls herself and claims it's an unbalanced meal for her. Yu starts licking the food to tempt her, but she loudly complains about the excessive carbohydrates and lipids, adding that she still needs at least 20 more grams of protein along with vitamin B. Yu finds it ridiculous how someone needs to calculate nutrients before eating. Nico explains that for her, eating right is just as important as training. As the girls get ready to leave, he remembers how his mother used to follow different diet plans depending on the type of shoot she had. When the ladies rush out toward the gate in a hurry, he suddenly appears behind them and says they've forgotten something. That instantly sends a chill down their spines, and they begin checking everything in panic while arguing over what's missing. But he only meant to wish them a good day. Even though they find it unnecessary, the girls end up blushing on their way to practice and somehow feel a little happy about it. Meanwhile, Yu moves on to doing the dishes, and in the middle of it, he receives a call from the shady Mr. Mikadono. The man informs him that he won't be around much due to his responsibilities, which basically leaves Yu stuck alone with the 3 girls. The uncle then asks him for a favor, saying he should support his daughters since they'll soon be facing their own hurdles. According to him, simply being there for them would be enough to help them open up. His future father-in-law goes into detail that each of the sisters has their problems to go through. Firstly, Kazuki has an upcoming audition. Nico will fight for the top spot in the Karate Nationals, and Miwa has to fight for her title in a shogi match. Hearing that his chances of smashing will skyrocket if he is successful in helping the girls out, Yu gets really excited and hangs up. After taking a deep breath, Yu wonders what someone useless like him can even help them with the physique of a chihuahua and the brainpower of a vacuum cleaner. He doubts he can help prodigies who don't take a minute off even on the weekends. However, that's when it hits him that if they fail, they will be called failures just like he's been his whole life, and to make sure that doesn't happen to them as well, he swears he will never let them suffer. He begins by going out on a journey to understand each of the girls to win over their hearts with wholesome family dinners. As the sun sets, Nico gets back home from training looking all depressed when her heart suddenly pops out of her chest because she completely forgot she has a man-slave living under the same roof. Yu takes a bit of the soup out of the pot and charmingly licks it up like holy nectar, making Nico go doki doki, and then offers her to taste his cooking for herself. But she smugly shoots him down and says she doesn't need his extra creamy stuff because she brought her own. After finishing her bath, she steps out looking like a queen only to find the little guy deep in the zone cooking up something so good even the Rock smells it from across the street. Yu goes through dozens of recipe books and locks in every detail to craft the ultimate dinner. Watching him go so hard even after she brushed him off earlier seriously gets under Nico's skin. Just then, Miwa walks in, and Yu grins like a proud chef announcing he's about to serve soup so good it will curl her toes. Seeing him act like a complete dork, the girls assume he's just running his mouth again. That's when Nico remembers the old days when the sisters had a private chef cooking 5-star meals with premium ingredients, but even 5-star refused to eat that fancy slop because it seriously lacked nutrients, and she only eats what's good for her body. Later that night, the redhead is in her room chugging down Taco Bell like a starving African when curiosity finally wins her over. So she sneaks into the kitchen, sees Yu isn't there, and spots a fine feast waiting on the table. That's when Yu jumps out from behind and hits her with a surprise nutrition attack and drops facts like the meal's packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals more than enough to get ripped, plus his secret sauce to help it all go down smooth. Overwhelmed by the stats, she admits defeat and Yu collapses because he is drained from talking to a diet expert the entire day just to craft the perfect dinner for her. Realizing how much effort he put in, Nico turns redder than a ripe tomato and finally sits to give it a try. The second it hits her taste buds, she tells him to pass her compliments to the chef. Yu, meanwhile, starts to wonder if he really can tame her with food the way he tames cats in Minecraft, but his goofy face makes her visibly uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Miwa's already drooling at the sight of the spread and tries to sneak downstairs for a bite. But Yu catches her mid-sneak and starts bombarding her with nutrition facts until she gives up and joins the table like a normal person. Hearing that he tailored the food for Miwa too, Nico's respect for Yu spikes through the roof. Miwa points at her sister's rare soft expression and notices it's been a while since she's looked like that, and also notices Nico's packed on a few pounds. Nico snaps back that Miwa's not exactly model material herself, but Miwa just laughs because all the goods go up top while the rest fuels her galaxy brain. While Yu is satisfied watching the sisters chat, Kazuki walks in and is instantly disgusted to see them eating together at the table like some kind of wholesome family. The Riz Lord sneaks up on her and casually lets her know he's got some brown rice packed with B12 for her skin, along with a salmon marinade full of antioxidants to wipe out all the depression from her long day at work. His pitch nearly works, but she shuts him down cold and refuses to be charmed like her weak-willed sisters. Nico snaps back and defends Yu's weak-willed tensions, but Kazuki makes it crystal clear she isn't against family bonding, and it's just that eating a peasant's cooking at the same table like a normal family doesn't quite suit the princess. And just like that, the last sliver of Yu's self-respect vanishes into the shadow realm. Seeing him look like his grandma just died, Nico grabs the plate from his hands and starts eating to cheer him up. But Yu recovers instantly and strongly warns her that if she keeps stealing extra servings, she really will turn into a chubby teddy bear. Miwa is baffled whether he even wants them to eat his cooking or not, while Nico nearly pops an aneurysm from his disrespect. Yu politely declares that it's his job to track everything that comes in or out of her body, and his outrageous wording nearly makes Nico explode in embarrassment. 3 days have passed since Yu moved in with the Mikadono sisters, but despite his tireless efforts, Kazuki still refuses to touch anything made by his filthy hands, recalling their father's order to help the girls reach their full potential. Yu channels his inner Lelouch and makes a plan A. During break time, high-pitched squeals echo through the halls as a crowd of girls swarms Kazuki-senpai like moths, showering her with bottom-tier praise. Yu's jaw hits the floor at how wildly popular she is, but he braces for impact and waves hello at the pack with a big smile. The girls instantly recognize him as that talentless bum, and Kazuki tells him to be gone before he taints her divine aura with his loser energy while shooting him a glare like he's used toilet paper. But Yu calls her a meanie as he announces he stayed up all night trying to win her over, and he has something only he can give her, and he is sure she would love it, obviously talking about his cooking. The girls are wildly flustered, so Kazuki shouts at Yu to stop misleading everyone with his nasty statement and swears she's going to make him pay for this when they're back home, which digs the hole even deeper. Her army of fans bombards her with questions, so Yu uses the chaos to slip away. Later, Yu meets up with Nico to strategize on how to win over Kazuki and ends up shocked at how much the karate club depends on her. But as soon as she spots him, Kazuki remembers his outrageous claim from the day before, and the sheer audacity of him showing his face again makes her livid. Her devoted simps instantly question who this fool thinks he is calling her by her first name so casually, but one look at the Demon Queen sends them running. Yu quickly realizes he won't make it out in one piece if he keeps this up, so Miwa is officially the only card he has left to play. Elsewhere in the school, Miwa is busy playing shogi on her phone when she hears her classmates struggling over a problem. She does some quick math and bluntly says they must really be deficient in brain cells if they can't even solve something that easy. As expected, the girls make a quick exit with their last shred of respect intact, and Yui watches them on their way out. He walks into class, but after sensing Miwa's completely different mood at school, he tones down his excitement. Yu politely invites her to join him for lunch in the cafeteria, but she tells him to get lost. When Miwa realizes he won't give up, she power walks out of class, and he keeps following her around the school. He stubbornly chases her even after she insists he leave her alone, and before they know it, she's laughing happily as she runs away like it's a game of tag. After playing around, the obviously not athletic duo pants like dogs with asthma, and he points out that she seems like the silent kid in class. Hearing that, she confesses that the low-wit conversations of average high school girls are too hard to relate to because she is one of the royals. When Yu says he can relate, she stares in raw confusion at how that's even possible. Sitting down with peak confidence, he says he's also pretty royal, or rather royally short, intellectually disabled, and a royal failure despite the charming looks he inherited from his amazing mother. He tries to explain to her that being different is not really a bad thing, and in the middle of his motivational TED talk, Yu forgets what he was even talking about, which really gets on Miwa's nerves. But after roasting him for a bit, she calls him a baka, her little baka. While eating lunch, Yu tells Miwa he's looking for a way to win Kazuki over because he's running out of straws to grasp. So she tells him that when she was 3, she saw her sister really happy when their mother made a meal special just for her. But that's pretty much all she remembers, which leaves Yu utterly shocked because his goldfish brain can't even remember what he did 5 minutes ago. But with that one clue, he gets back into the kitchen and starts theorizing what dishes her mom used to make for her. Just then, Kazuki appears from behind, looking like a zombie, and when he asks her a question, she falls with a heavy thud because she has a really bad fever. Later in her room, the princess argues it really wasn't a big deal, and that she was just tired. But Miwa gets third-degree burns just touching her forehead, and Nico tries to slap a cooling pad on her while the stubborn sister fights back. That's when Yu shows up with a bowl of porridge, which makes her so angry she throws all of them out before crying alone in bed over her frail body. Yu realizes she knows how easily she gets sick and still continues her rehearsals without fail. He leaves the porridge at her door, but after the second time she sends it back, he barges into the ungrateful gremlin's room and gets chewed out by her. But on her way to kick him out, her knees give out and she falls in slow motion while he just stands there ready to become her human cushion. She then asks him why he won't leave her alone, and Yu fires back that he wants her to get well soon so she doesn't miss rehearsals, and even offers to give her private classes. Kazuki seriously doubts his skills, but he brags that he debuted when he was 2 and asserts dominance as her senpai with 4 years of seniority. After going over the script, he takes the role of the princess while Kazuki plays the prince. Although the moment the first line more stiff than morning wood leaves his mouth, she slams the door in his face. Our boy tells her he was just warming up before he admits that his mom got him countless auditions and he failed every single one. That makes her really angry, and she tells the Nepo baby he'll never understand what hard work feels like. But he returns the next day after rereading the script, only to get rejected again. On the third day, he comes back after practicing 10 times, but his horrendous acting makes her ears bleed. The day after, she angrily tells him to stop nagging, so he admits defeat, while she remembers the high expectations of her acting team to carry the film with her flawless performance. Kazuki decides to get out of bed instead of wasting time, but when she sees Yu practicing in the living room, it's a real shocker how much he still sucks even after all that effort, and that makes her smile. The next morning, she gets to hear his NPC tier acting again, but this time she decides to play along. In that genuine moment, Yu delivers some brilliant acting that shocks them both. He tears up over finally making his mommy proud after 14 years of failing, and Kazuki is refreshed to see the goofball getting so happy over a single line. That makes her so happy she tells him she'll let a peasant like him serve her a meal, but on one condition. Yu asks what it is, but she acts super shy like she's about to show him her browser history in incognito mode, and then suddenly blurts out a list of things she doesn't want to eat, which makes Yu realize she's too embarrassed to admit she's a picky eater. The following day, Miwa and Nico have seizures in sync as they watch Kazuki calmly eat Yuo's cooking with satisfaction and think the end times are coming. Yu compliments her for finishing her soup like a good girl, but she says she'll eat anything if it doesn't have carrots. That's when he whispers he put shredded carrots in it the whole time and leaves her quivering. Taking a seat, he finally breathes a sigh of relief after finally succeeding in hooking the sisters on what he cooks. However, he is hit with a big surprise the next day that they won't be needing him to cook for them, because the girls will be out most of the day practicing for their big day. So he awkwardly wishes them a good day while feeling like a housewife who just got divorced. Still, that's nothing new for him, since his mother was also out for months at a time, though that's exactly why they didn't get to become close like they wished. Once again, he gets hit with a vibe check that the distance between geniuses like them and no lives like him is too big, and even though their father asked him to support them, he's lost on what to do. Staring out the window, he recalls a memory of a little note his mom wrote in the hospital, saying she wishes for him to have a happy family. And that's when he realizes he doesn't even know what a happy family is. Suddenly, he remembers the show in which his mom starred as the loving mother of a family show with zero drama and pure wholesome family-friendly goodness. He binges through 6 volumes in one sitting, and the part comes where his mom plays the happiest part of her life, her wedding. But it hits him that all of this is scripted, and the real family he's stuck with is the complete opposite of what she wished for him. Just then, the Mikadono sisters are back home and roast Miwa for being a slob because she acts so worn out it's like she's back from a shift in the coal mines. They find Yu wiping his tears while watching some movies and wonder just what got him so emotional. Miwa thinks it's just another family show, but the moment Kazuki sees his mom on TV, she realizes he is still a child who really misses his mother, even though Yu was just vibing. With a serious look on her face, she assures him he doesn't have to work so hard and be an at-home dad to make it feel like they're a family, and Miwa backs her up. Nico chimes in that he's welcome to be a freeloader because they didn't really expect much from him from the start, but that makes him so angry. Yu confesses that the reason he works so hard is because he didn't try to bond with his mom, thinking she was too different from him, and that was a mistake he regretted later on. So he wants to connect heart to heart and refuses to miss the chance at enjoying a happy family life with them as well. All 3 sisters are creeped out the moment they hear him say happy family, and Nico mumbles to herself that happy families are a fantasy that only exists on TV. But Tsundir still humors him and asks how they can be family. All the while the protagonist on TV proposes to the heroine and kisses her, making the audience squeal. After watching that, Yu feels the Mikadono sisters pierce his soul with their stare before going full panic over the little man's crazy plan. Kazuki is in denial. She actually fantasized about getting married for a sec, while Nico tries to convince herself she'd rather train than marry a failure, and Miwa thinks she got brainwashed by the stupid love scene. Right then, Yu declares that he's already made his choice and says Nico's name, leaving her frozen in place. He hypes it up and states they have to know each other's birthdays. The 3 sisters short circuit as he explains Nico Nico's in the same grade, so as family he should know whether she's his little sister or an Ara-Ara-1-san. That baffles the girls again, and they tell the freeloading peasant to stay in the trash where he belongs. Later in the bath, Nico is still flustered during her bath when she hears his low testosterone scream echoing from the kitchen. She rushes out thinking someone broke in, only to find him devastated because there's no bread left for sandwiches. Nico snaps at him to stop crying over things as tiny as him, but when she realizes she's basically naked, she flies off in embarrassment and bumps right into Miwa. Her intellectual sister immediately notices she's a bit too red for someone who just got out of the bath. Miwa begins analyzing every possible scenario that could have made her this flustered when Yu shows up with a bundle of towels. Her hormones go haywire the second his hand touches hers, so she drops the towels and starts bullying him, which makes Yu think he's being punished for freeloading. Seeing Miwa having a hormonal meltdown just like her, Nico asks if she also has a crush on the little rascal. But Miwa immediately locks onto the also and starts chewing her out on confessing by accident, while Yu silently folds towels in the war zone. Watching the two sisters make a ruckus, Kazuki sighs and tells her little sisters to act their darn age. Yu asks for her help putting a pot away on the top shelf, and the charming princess asks if he needs anything else after she's done. When Yu thanks her with a charming smile, she acts cool as it obviously didn't make her melt, until her sisters catch it and call her out, triggering a heated threesome over who's the biggest idiot in love. Eventually, Yu gets fed up and tells them all to knock it off because they're family. He also admits he has no clue what they're fighting about, which leaves the girls staring at him in raw disappointment. After they leave, he sighs and then notices they've left the entire living room in shambles. While cleaning up, Yu quietly reflects that real life will never be as perfect as it looks on TV. Even then, the dinner they shared is a memory he'll always treasure. He finds himself wishing for a happy life with them, and that's when he stumbles across an unexpected treasure, a photo of the Mikadono trio as adorable little kids. He instantly overdoses on the cuteness and wonders how they went from that to what they are now. He wishes he could take a new photo of them under the cherry blossom tree, and decides to ask around about who forgot the picture. But when he checks with the sisters, all three immediately slam the door in his face. That only fuels Sherlock Holmes' suspicions that one of them is hiding something. And if someone's holding on to this photo, it means deep down one of them misses the good old family days just like he does. However, the next morning all three sisters go their separate ways, shutting down his private investigation before it begins. Still, he's impressed to learn that these prodigies travel all over the country and decides to dig deeper into where their events are being held. And that's when he hits the jackpot. Later that night, Yu warms up some milk to help Kazuki sleep better, but Miwa and Nico look visibly annoyed because they forgot to book a hotel room. Right on cue, their knight in shining sarcasm stuns them by revealing he already booked a hotel for them. He hands them two separate maps and cheekily wishes them a happy stay because he picked out a 5-star place for them. Miwa's not that thrilled and pouts that she can't be happy eating trash food for 2 days, and Nico agrees. That's when the cheeky gremlin asks if she's saying she can't even go a single day without him, making her cheeks redder than roses. The smug goblin grins widely and says he's happy to join them. Later at the shogi tournament, Miwa dominates her opponent like a boss within seconds, leaving everyone stunned by her raw talent. On her way out, a woman informs her that her next match will be against a 4th grade master, so it might be a challenge. But Miwa walks off looking bored and thinks about practicing with AI at the hotel. That's when a breathtaking view of cherry blossoms completely captivates her. She recalls wholesome memories from their childhood and heads back to the hotel, only for her jaw to crash into the basement on seeing a disguised Kazuki checking in at the counter. The two sisters immediately start questioning each other, and in the middle of that, Nico also makes her entrance and drops her bag in pure shock. Finally catching on, Miwa asks the Flamehead if her tournament is also in the same town. Yu shows up all smug and comments how it's pretty wrong for 3 sisters to not even know each other's destination. He proudly reveals that since they don't talk, he made time for them to do exactly that. The sisters start raging when they learn he booked them into the same room. But Yu just pretends he's done them a huge favor by giving them a chance for a classic girl talk all night. Putting that aside, they ask what he's doing here, and Yu declares himself their official guide for the festival, while secretly scheming to take a family photo whether they like it or not. However, the sisters gang up on his dumb idea, so he tries to convince them there's a famous shrine they can visit to pray for luck. Nico shoots him down, saying she's not a failure like him who needs luck. But Yu argues that even top prodigies from Hollywood go there because faith unlocks a whole new level of confidence. Plus, it's a great way to blow off steam from their depressing routines. He finally wins them over by mentioning the fresh seafood since it's an oceanside town, and that leaves the girls, especially Kazuki, with no choice. She says it's all for her Insta page and suggests they go shopping for some tasteful drip. With that, they head to a kimono store Yu looked up beforehand, and the shopkeeper ladies are dazzled by the three legends suddenly appearing. They get excited and choose a mature-style kimono for Kazuki to match her grace, while Miwa picks a kitty-themed one to suit her playful personality. But when Yu turns to find Nico, she's still sitting there looking annoyed. So he asks if she doesn't like kimonos. He points out that there are tons of styles, but she grumbles that she wouldn't look good in one anyway. The shop lady then brings her a sharp design to match her handsome personality. But Nico flashes back to when she once wanted a girly dress, and their father never let her buy anything feminine. She snaps at the shop lady, but right then Yu shows up with a kimono that radiates peak femininity, and says he thinks it's perfect for her because she's the cutest girl he knows. Nico gets hit right in the feelings, and when he asks her to choose between the two styles, she takes both into the changing room, and the moment she comes out with her hair tied, all three of them are completely blown away by her enchanting beauty. Afterwards, the not-so-typical family heads out to enjoy the festival. Miwa mentions that she's starting to feel hungry, prompting Yu to remind her to stay close and not wander off too far. Just then, the crowd recognizes Kazuki, and in no time, a swarm of people rushes toward her like a pack of fans desperate for an autograph. Yu had hoped the sisters would grow closer through this outing, but from the way things are unfolding, Kazuki seems to have switched into work mode. While she watches her sisters enjoy their food, Kazuki briefly feels a tinge of nostalgia, but brushes it off. At the same time, a girl nearby, who clearly has no interest in Kazuki, urges her friend to hurry up and follow her. However, as she turns away, her sandal breaks and she starts falling forward. Before she hits the ground, Kazuki catches her and ends up impressing even the ones who weren't her fans. Carrying the girl in a princess lift, she helps her find a place to sit down. Meanwhile, Yu is having a hard time trying to keep track of Kazuki in such a chaotic crowd. After Kazuki escorts the girl to safety and starts wandering around with a trail of fangirls behind her, she suddenly gets shoved straight into the bushes by someone she instantly suspects to be a kidnapper. Turns out, the so-called kidnapper is none other than our boy. The blue head gets ready to raise hell, already puffing up with rage, demanding an explanation for whatever that was supposed to be, but before she can start ranting, he calmly shuts her up and tells her to just dig into the food he brought so she can actually enjoy the festival. She argues, of course, and turns her face away like a sulking cat, insisting he can't always bribe her with food. But our guy isn't backing down and points out that he saw she hurt her foot. Without wasting time, he checks it and finds out it's actually a pretty bad injury. While carefully wrapping it up, he drops a few wise words about how she doesn't need to fit into anyone's expectations and should just be whoever the hell she wants to be. The redhead finishes bandaging her foot with that calm, no-nonsense touch, while she sits there silently blushing like a confused middle schooler. Meanwhile, Nico and Miwa are trying their best to enjoy the day, but it turns out the orange head is hilariously hopeless at festival games. Her face turns redder than a boiled tomato as she keeps failing to catch even a single salmon, flailing around like she's fishing with her eyes closed. Just then, both of them freeze when they spot their elder sister walking over to join them, and right beside her is Yu, who somehow convinced her to wear a sus mask to help her go incognito. Yu then suggests a match, teaming up with Kazuki, while the other side gets stuck with Nico and Miwa. Nico immediately takes a jab at her sister, saying she should wear that creepy smiley mask all the time since her usual face looks like she's ready to kill someone. Kazuki smiles under the mask, and the match kicks off. Yu ends up snapping his fish-catching paddle first, followed by Miwa, who instantly cries foul play and accuses her sister of cheating since she hasn't even chipped hers yet. Things spiral fast, and the challenge turns into a full-on sibling brawl. Yu backs off, figuring this might be a rare bonding moment in disguise, and dashes off to check out some grand competition happening nearby. Apparently, the task is to hop across lotus-shaped platforms and make it all the way to the Torii Gate, which honestly looks like a rigged game for superhumans. The winner not only gets a ridiculous amount of luck, but also an awkward selfie with the shrine's golden guardian. The hosts are dead serious too, claiming that setting the selfie as your phone wallpaper boosts your luck, and even throwing in a weird guarantee. Yu scrolls through the old festival photo of the sisters and realizes this is the same competition where they once won and got that statue shot. Inspired, he decides to recreate that scene, hoping he can somehow pull off the impossible and make it to the finish line himself. Before Yu can even make up his mind, the crowd's already going wild, with people rushing in to win that cursed selfie with the statue. One after another, they fail miserably as some of the lotus platforms just dip and sink the moment someone steps on them. Turns out, you've got to find the lucky path of leaves to make it all the way to the gate without ending up soaked, which basically makes this whole thing feel like a live-action version of Fall Guys. People keep leaping and falling, making it slightly easier for the next batch to guess which platforms might actually hold up. The more they fall, the clearer the path becomes, but the hosts just keep grinning like evil game game show villains. According to them, this challenge is so ridiculously hard that no one's managed to clear it for the past 10 years, and the last ones to actually make it were none other than the three prodigy sisters themselves. Just then it becomes Yu's turn to join in, and he goes under almost instantly like the universe had it out for him from the start. Even though the rules clearly allow people to try again, most of them quit after realizing it's probably not worth wasting their time for a glorified photo with a golden toy. But Yu stays stubborn and keeps flinging himself into the water. The poor kid wrecks his face, but there's not a chance he even thinks about backing down, even as night falls and the rain begins to hammer down like some divine sign to quit. Yu still refuses to admit defeat. The hosts eventually try to talk him into giving up, saying it's not really about effort, but just pure dumb luck, and they even offer to let him snap a photo without technically winning. But Yu ends up thinking about how the sisters probably won by moving together like one unit with perfect timing, and that memory convinces him to push through no matter what. He keeps launching himself onto those shaky platforms and somehow manages to reach the gate this time. The hosts applaud and finally invite him to take the selfie, but the redhead bolts off instead, shouting something about needing to go grab some people first. As he runs off to find the Mikadono sisters, an announcement rings out about the festival ending early due to heavy rain. Realizing he's too late, he drops flat on the floor, feeling useless. The voices of the three girls echo in his head, remembering how he had dragged them here in the first place, assuming they must have stormed back to the hotel and that he'd be left behind once again. But as he shuts his eyes and opens them, he finds the three prodigies standing right in front of him with their umbrellas. They ask why he never came back and why he's now drenched and covered in mud. Yu says he figured they would have ditched him, but the girls respond that they aren't that heartless. They ask him to lead the way back to the hotel, calling him their festival conductor, and even let him share their umbrella, explaining how only 3 were left at the stall and they couldn't get a 4th one. Eventually, the 3 sisters end up arguing over who gets to share the umbrella with Oliver. Miwa wins the rock-paper-scissors match and takes the spotlight. After returning and finishing their baths, the girls check on their personal conductor and find him looking like a total mess. They ask if he's planning to skip bathing altogether, and that's when the redhead sheepishly admits he forgot to book a separate room for himself. Now, all the nearby hotels are full, and he has nowhere to stay. Smiling awkwardly, the boy says he'll just crash at a cafe. The sisters stare at him, realizing he's hopeless, and just as he's about to leave, Kazuki stops him and pulls him into their room. They all argue about how it would be a disgrace to their name and profession to let a kitten catch a cold in the rain outside. Nico even points out that since they already live together, handling this once wouldn't be a big deal. The next issue that pops up is that there's no robe for the boy to wear, since the hopeless loser forgot to bring one too. After a few awkward glances and fidgety moments, Yu finally spots an extra robe and hurries off to take a shower. While he's bathing, he yells out from behind the door, telling them to forget he even exists and just get a good night's rest. Eventually, the lights go out and everyone settles in to sleep. But now a new problem arises. The 3 prodigies find their hearts pounding, unable to fall asleep. Their faces stay flushed, despite having no fever. The story then rewinds a little, revealing that Yu actually succeeded in his mission to get the 3 sisters to take a photo with the statue. As expected, he messed things up again and ended up clowning around, which only made the sisters laugh harder. Back in the present, when the boy enthusiastically checks his bag, he can't find the old photo of the 3 sisters. Instead, he discovers a letter saying she's taken the picture back. He smiles, happy that the photo is now with its rightful owner, and falls asleep in mere seconds. Seeing him knocked out so quickly, the 3 girls quietly sit up, wondering why they're all still awake. They exchange glances and softly start talking about how they haven't changed one bit. They argue and laugh over old memories, realizing how even though they live together, life has kept them so busy they barely have time for moments like this. Miwa turns around and checks both the old and the new photos with her sisters, confirming that she was the one who had kept the original safe all along. She chuckles, thinking of Yu as a lovable idiot who went through all that trouble just to get them to take another photo together. The 3 sisters silently thank the boy in their own hearts before finally drifting off to sleep. The next morning, as chores are being taken care of, Yu casually checks the news and is surprised to see headlines praising the 3 prodigies for delivering outstanding results, despite having spent the previous night completely goofing around. The next day, while sitting in his class, Yu fantasizes about how he will prepare dinner for the 3 sisters once he returns home. He spends the entire day shopping for ingredients and then heads over to the Mikadono mansion just as the sun is about to set. When he opens the gate, he finds that the three sisters are already back home earlier than expected. He also notices a pair of shoes that he does not recognize. As he walks in, he sees the three sisters standing politely in front of a man sitting calmly on the sofa. The moment feels a bit intense as Yu wonders who the person is, but the moment he hears his voice, he immediately realizes it belongs to Mr. Mikidono and quickly greets him, introducing himself properly. Mr. Mikidono expresses his condolences for what happened to Yu's mother, but assures him there is no need to worry because as long as he is around, her talents will always live on. Yu finds these expectations too overwhelming for someone like him, and then looks at the Mikidono sisters as he wonders why they all seem so serious. Mr. Mikidono then shifts the conversation and coldly asks Kazuki for her performance report. She quickly explains that her routine is jam-packed and she has an interview scheduled for tomorrow. When he turns to Nico, she confidently mentions winning championships as usual and assures him she will not slow down. Lastly, it is Miwa's turn, and she also gives a perfect report. As Yu is about to say something, Mikidono stands up and interrupts, saying the performance reports have been discussed, and he will now take his leave. Yu stops him and asks if he would be interested in joining them for dinner, since he had planned to cook for them. Without replying, Mikidono walks over to a mask lying nearby. Yu explains that they went to a festival over the weekend. Mikidono becomes serious and asks whose idea it was. The boy excitedly tells him how he took them there, and the sisters all ended up in the same place, and that it was the same festival they once visited as children. Mikidono lifts the mask near his face, then scolds Yu for interfering with his daughter's success. Yu talks about the good luck they received from the visit, but Mikidono dismisses it, saying he believes only in hard work and not in luck. He walks up to Yu and harshly reminds him how useless and miserable he is despite being the son of a talented actress. He breaks the mask in half and calls Yu an average nobody, claiming that talentless people have no place in his home, as he continues to insult him and grabs him tightly by the shoulder. The sisters finally stand up for Yu. They argue with their father, explaining that while Yu may not have major achievements, he handles everything in the house from cleaning to cooking, so they can focus on their careers. Kazuki firmly adds that they are able to perfect their talents only because he supports them behind the scenes. When Mikidono questions why they are defending someone so average and if they truly need him, the sisters blush and give clumsy excuses. Still, they keep arguing that they get along well with Yu and have formed a strong bond with him. However, their father stays firm and tells them that there is no space in the Mikidono family for socializing. He reminds them they are not children anymore and forbids them from attending any more festivals. He tells them to focus on improving their results and then leaves. Yu quietly asks if they will join him for dinner, but Nico turns around and gently apologizes, saying they no longer have time to enjoy his delicious food. A week passes, and everything seems to go back to the way it was before Yu started living at the mansion. But after meeting their father, Yu finally understands why these girls work so hard to perfect their talents. And it is all because of their strict upbringing. He remembers how the sisters finally started getting along with each other. That night, everyone at the club is returning home, except for Nico, who stays late to practice like she used to. It turns out she had been coming home early just for dinner, but now she is back to her usual schedule. As she takes a break to eat, the food tastes bland after getting used to Yu's cooking. Kazuki feels the same as she looks at her healthy smoothie, packed with nutrients, but she cannot bring herself to drink it anymore. Even Miwa seems off as her usual snacks do not feel as exciting. All three girls find themselves stuck, wondering why they can no longer go back to their old routine. Meanwhile, even Yu feels down and wishes things could go back to how they used to be. He remembers the warm family from the TV show his mother acted in and decides he wants to create something just like that. This thought gives him a new sense of motivation. The next morning, as the three sisters step out of the house, Nico realizes that Yu didn't greet them with his usual cheerful voice, and that makes her feel sad. Later at school, when lunchtime arrives, Nico opens her bag to grab a protein bar, but instead finds a packed lunch. Her face turns as red as a tomato, and the same happens with the other two sisters, each finding a neatly packed meal. When Nico's crewmates ask if she is not going to eat it and suggest they could have it, she firmly refuses and says she will eat every bite herself. Meanwhile, Yu is asleep on his notebook, completely exhausted after waking up at 4 in the morning to prepare their meals. Later, when he finds their lunch boxes completely empty, he smiles to himself, knowing they enjoyed the food. That evening, the three sisters call Yu over and seriously tell him that they want to form a co-stewardship with him. Confused, Yu wonders why they are suddenly talking about ships. But the sisters do not look in the mood to be joking, as they remind him that their father warned he would throw Yu out unless he proved himself. So they propose that if he supports them in the coming challenges, they are willing to accept him as one of their own. They explain what lies ahead for each of them and say they need his help to face it all. Excited by the idea, Yu promises he will make lunch for them every day because they are a family. But the sisters correct him and explain clearly that he is only a supporter. The next day, just as the Mikadono sisters are about to leave for the day, Yu hands them their packed lunches. Kazuki informs him that they will be returning home around 7 in the evening, so he can get dinner ready for them as well. He sends them off with his usual warm wish, and for some reason, that simple gesture makes all three of them blush like hot tomatoes, almost as if everything feels just right in that moment. Later during practice, Kazuki wears a wig and awkwardly tries working on her feminine side. But just then, two women suddenly appear and end up scaring the life out of her. While Nico is in the middle of practice, her phone rings and she quickly answers, only to hear that her trainer has just returned from an overseas tour and wants to meet her. At the same time, little Miwa is deep in her own training session, but ends up being knocked down by her trainer. Her trainer calmly reminds her that the time is coming when she'll have to finally choose which path she truly wants to follow. By the time the Mikadono sisters return home later that evening, each of them has a lot running through her mind. But as soon as they enter the house, they find Yu clumsily running on top of a flour bag. And when they ask what he is doing, he tells them with confidence that he plans to add udon to the recipe and wants to use whole wheat flour this time to help lower the carb content in their diet. Just as he's explaining everything, he suddenly slips and falls hard, hurting himself in the process, which makes the girls laugh a little before walking off, mentioning that they'll still be joining him for dinner. Later that night at the table, the sisters remark that the food tastes a bit average today, which leads them to recall how their father used to hate anything that felt mediocre. Yet in that quiet moment, each of them finds a kind of comfort in this mediocrity. Later, while Yu is doing the dishes, Kazuki walks in and offers to help, saying she's trying to work on her feminine side. Yu points out that doing the dishes doesn't really have anything to do with being feminine, but she insists and joins in anyway. When Yu brings up the audition, Kazuki suddenly panics a little, admitting that it's her first time playing a feminine role, and that's probably why she's so nervous. Just then, she notices bandages on Yu's hand and asks what happened. Yu explains that he's not very good at cooking and ends up burning himself pretty often. The two continue chatting casually for a bit until Yu suddenly slips and ends up with a nosebleed. Kazuki quickly rushes to help but ends up slipping too, landing right above him in what almost looks like a kiss. She quickly gets up, and while Yu starts apologizing, she brushes it off, saying it was just an accident. Later, while taking care of his nosebleed, Yu cannot help but feel sorry for the girl as she literally kissed a guy with a bleeding nose. Yet she does not seem bothered at all, which makes him realize she must be used to scenes like that on stage. Still, he feels bad for himself too, knowing his first kiss ended up tasting like blood. On the other hand, when Nico mentions it might rain, Kazuki turns on the TV to check the weather, only to find a kissing scene playing instead. She quickly turns it off and tells Nico to check the weather online instead. After that, she comes across Miwa and says her jelly looks tasty. Miwa proudly says it was made just for her by the new kid, adding that it feels like nibbling on a pair of soft lips. The mention of lips throws Kazuki off again, and she slams her coffee on the table before storming off to her room and shutting the door behind her. As she touches her lips, still flustered, the boy suddenly walks in without knocking, which immediately triggers her anger. Yu calmly explains that he only came to clear the air, adding that he is pretty sure she would not want one of her kisses wasted on someone like him. He suggests they both pretend it never happened. As he walks out, Kazuki bursts with frustration, calling him a jerk for saying something like that. Later during her practice, she starts thinking Yu might have been right, and forgetting what happened might really be the best thing for now since she needs to stay focused on her upcoming audition. She tries rehearsing her feminine role, but keeps failing since everything she has done until now has been more like a prince than a girl. During another session, while once again acting in a prince role, she looks closely at the girl she is performing with and suddenly realizes what she had been missing in her earlier performance. Just when the scene leads into a kiss, her mind flashes back to her earlier accident, and she jumps back, completely embarrassed. Her director immediately stops her and asks what is going on, reminding her that whatever happens in her personal life will eventually affect her performance on stage. Later that night, Kazuki walks up to Yu and tells him that her practice has gotten tougher lately, so she needs him to make her some stamina-boosting meals. As Yu gets up and closes the curtains, she suddenly asks if he is free this Sunday. After he confirms, she steps a little closer, and in an awkward moment, she looks him in the eye and confidently tells him that she wants him to go on a date with her this Sunday. Yu blushes when he hears it and starts wondering if he has gotten himself into this situation because of that kiss. Meanwhile, the two other sisters eavesdrop, and both of them turn red as they clearly begin to feel jealous. Miwa finds it hard to believe that what she is hearing could actually be a real date, but Nico tells her to stop overthinking things, since it really does sound like an actual date. Both of them begin to question if Yu is okay with this arrangement, and then quietly return to their rooms. Once they leave, Kazuki hands Yu a poster for a heroine audition and begins to explain how she has always been cast in male roles throughout her life, which has now made it very difficult for her to act like a proper heroine. She also shares how her tutor once told her that her personal life would eventually affect her performance. Yu quickly picks up on what she is trying to say and realizes that Kazuki wants them to go on a pretend date, so she can get a better feel for acting like a girl. He happily agrees and tells her with a smile that he is all hers. Kazuki asks him not to let the other two find out and firmly warns him not to have any wrong ideas. Yu tells her to take it easy and adds that if she really wants this plan to work, the date needs to look completely real, so he promises to take her on the best one he can manage. On Saturday morning, while Yu is busy with his cleaning chores, Nico walks up to him and casually asks if he has any plans for Sunday. Yu lies to her, which instantly makes her furious. She becomes jealous, thinking that the date might be something very serious, and that must be the reason why Yu is trying to keep it hidden. Even Miwa seems unable to shake off the suspicion. That day, after she and Nico returned to their rooms, Miwa quietly sneaked back and overheard the last part of Yu's conversation, where he told Kazuki that he would take her on an awesome date. That night, during dinner, the entire atmosphere feels strange and heavy. Yu gives Kazuki a subtle wink, hoping to signal that he is fully prepared for the next day. However, the moment is caught by the other two girls, who suddenly begin to radiate a powerful aura. It completely scares the crap out of Yu and leaves him wondering if they are preparing for some grand event or match that has them all worked up and serious. As the scene shifts, it is already time for the date, and Yu stands waiting for Kazuki to arrive. Meanwhile, Miwa and Nico sneak behind some nearby bushes, unable to focus on their own tasks. They have even gone as far as putting on silly disguises in an attempt to stay hidden. They watch the boy with envious eyes and feel annoyed at how cheerful he looks. Just then, Kazuki arrives dressed in a completely feminine outfit, which instantly makes Yu's heart skip a beat. She begins by asking if she is late, sounding a bit too much like a boy, and then quickly slaps herself as she realizes it and tries again with a more delicate, girlish tone. This time, she refers to him as Yu instead of the usual new kid, which thrills him so much that he eagerly asks her to keep calling him that even once their little date is over. The two head first to the aquarium, unaware that the jealous sisters are secretly tailing them. Watching from a distance, the sisters fume at how stunning Kazuki looks in her feminine attire. While descending the stairs, Kazuki messes up again and instinctively offers her hand to Yu like a gentleman. After a few steps, Yu catches on and asks her to redo the moment, this time properly. As they sit down to enjoy the water show, Kazuki can't stop wondering whether she is acting cute enough. She quietly questions herself, unsure of what men even find adorable. Then, when a sudden splash hits the front rows, she reacts by shielding Yu with her arms, once again stepping into her prince-like role. Yu sighs and gently tells her she got it wrong again. To make things even more awkward, the crowd cheers and tells Yu how lucky he is to have such a cute girlfriend. But Kazuki doesn't feel cute at all, acting the way she just did. What should have been the perfect date starts falling apart bit by bit. They keep messing things up, like not knowing who is supposed to carry the shopping bags, and Kazuki ends up with sore feet from the fancy female sandals she is not used to wearing. The two girls, still spying from the shadows, find the entire scene painfully cringe and hard to sit through. Later, when Yu excuses himself to use the washroom, Kazuki catches a glimpse of her reflection in the glass and sighs, thinking about how poorly she has been doing all day. She remembers how excited Yu had been about taking her out and starts wondering if he now regrets it. Just then, a scout from a showbiz agency approaches her, flashing his card and asking if she has a moment to talk. Kazuki politely declines, saying she's not interested, but the man doesn't back off easily, making her feel uncomfortable as she glances around, wondering where Yu disappeared to when she actually needed him the most. When the scout suddenly grabs her hand and tries to drag her away, Yu appears out of nowhere and firmly slaps his hand away, asking if there's a problem. The scout scoffs and asks if Yu is her younger brother, but Yu tries to act mature and insists that they are on a date, and Kazuki already knows exactly where she wants to be. When asked what that is, Yu stumbles, fumbling for answers and tossing out increasingly absurd claims, even suggesting that Kazuki wants to become a reformer in the government. The scout argues she'd be better off as a model, and Kazuki begins to realize that Yu is just as much hopeless as usual. Yu suddenly declares that the agency cannot have her because he is planning to make her his wife. Though the scout dismisses it as childish nonsense, Yu boldly repeats that they'll be together through every up and down. The crowd around them falls silent, having overheard the entire proposal. After the scout finally gives up and leaves, Yu awkwardly apologizes and asks Kazuki to forget everything he just said. But from the look on her face, it doesn't seem like she will. He then takes her hand, surprised by how warm it feels, and leads her away, while the two jealous sisters watch from behind with growing concern that this might turn into a perfect date after all. After a while, Yu realizes that he's been holding Kazuki's hand without even thinking about it, and now neither of them seems ready to let go. The people around them find the scene rather adorable, though poor Yu keeps getting mistaken for Kazuki's younger brother. In an effort to appear more romantic, Yu shifts his grip into something more fitting for a date, and Kazuki starts sweating bullets, trying to figure out if this is how a girl is supposed to react in such a moment. Still, she keeps her head high, convinced that this might finally be working, and silently hoping Yu continues with the same energy. Eventually, the two make it to a film theater, and when Kazuki suggests they go for a romantic movie, Yu surprises her by saying he already has everything planned, and they'll be watching a film titled Love in April. The name immediately rings a bell for Kazuki, as it starred her senior from the troupe who had retired from male roles to take on feminine ones instead. This particular movie had marked her senior's first performance as a full-fledged heroine, and Kazuki had always avoided watching it, fearing it might reveal how the transition had gone. Yu cheerfully tells her that the movie stars a former troupe actor and that he hopes she'll learn something useful from it. Unfortunately, as the film ends and they walk out of the cinema, the reactions around them are far from kind. Everyone seems to be complaining about how awful the lead heroine was and how she didn't come across as cute at all. Hearing those remarks, Kazuki suddenly recalls her father's intimidating words about how a true prodigy must be able to handle all kinds of roles with grace and success, and the weight of those expectations begins to make her feel deeply uneasy. Meanwhile, Yu begins to realize just how badly he's messed up, especially after Kazuki's senior delivered such a disappointing performance in the movie, likely making feminine roles seem even more daunting for her. He mentally kicks himself for being so thoughtless, and even the two spy sisters, still tailing the couple from a distance, can tell that the mood has soured. They wonder if Yu will be able to salvage what's left of the date. Later, Yu takes Kazuki to their final stop, which is a Ferris wheel, and insists that she join him despite her hesitance. Surprisingly, the sisters are somewhat impressed by how he's trying to cheer her up, thinking that he's handling things more smoothly than expected. Just then, they overhear two boys passing by who argue that any guy who proposes at the top of a Ferris wheel always wins his love. All three girls blush, and before Kazuki can process the thought, Yu gently pulls her into the ride. Inside the cabin, Kazuki reflects on how Yu might have gone overboard and recalls how different she has always been from other girls her age. Her tall height pushed her into modeling early on, and she was recruited by the troupe at just 6 years old. While she initially enjoyed the work, over time, it became a series of achievements she was expected to fulfill. Eventually, failure stopped being an option, and the pressure mounted when her father insisted she take on a feminine role. She pictures herself failing and concludes that no one stands beside a failure, convincing herself that maybe it's better to withdraw from the audition entirely than to risk disgrace. Just then, her gaze shifts to Yu, who is literally on vibration thanks to his fear of heights, especially with the see-through glass floor beneath him. When she asks why he chose this ride, Yu yells out that it had to be a perfect date, and Kazuki is suddenly reminded of what those boys had said earlier about proposing at the top. Before she can collect her thoughts, Yu clumsily stands up, nervously calls her his heroine, and at the very peak of the moment, mistakenly calls her his heroine ever. Kazuki asks the guy to silently sit down again and watch him tremble and stumble through yet another moment. Kazuki smiles softly, seeing once again how he somehow manages to fail even in what should have been the perfect opportunity. The boy then gently brings up the idea of finding value in failure. Sitting beside her, he begins scrolling through the most embarrassing moments of their date, and Kazuki asks if he is trying to humiliate himself on purpose. But as he shows her each picture, she quietly observes, realizing that all those clumsy scenes really did feature many of her emotions. Yu tells her she might actually be great at expressing emotions, which makes her blush even though she quickly dismisses it as an excuse to mask incompetence. He smiles and wishes her luck for the upcoming audition, and though she smirks in response, when the two step out of the Ferris wheel, almost glowing, the spying girls start to worry about what exactly happened up there. On their way back, Kazuki thanks Yu for the date, admitting that until now, she had always performed according to what others expected from her, but now, for the first time, she feels free to perform in a way that feels true to herself, knowing that there may be people out there who might even come to love her flaws. Yu reaches for her hand and tells her to remember this day, but Kazuki pulls her hand away, firmly stating that she does not rely on him to pass her audition. A few steps ahead, she suddenly turns around, and just as the spying sisters start to panic over the possibility of a kiss, Kazuki leans close to Yu and softly whispers that the kiss they had earlier was actually her first, and she cannot pretend that it never happened. Yu starts apologizing again while the two sisters freak out behind the bushes, desperate to know what she just said. Kazuki then calmly removes her wig and declares the date officially over, explaining that she has to return to the theater for rehearsal. Later, when Yu returns home to make dinner, the two sisters who had been secretly watching him all day welcome him back in a way that makes him visibly blush. The girls exchange knowing looks, realizing that although Yu had spent the whole day supporting Kazuki, he is still the one meant to support them, too, and they are not about to let him forget that. The next day, while the Mikadono sisters and Yu walk together toward their exam, Yu points out that even Kazuki seems quite relaxed, except for the brain prodigy Miwa. Kazuki replies that she doesn't like cramming at the last minute during exams, though Nico seems to be doing exactly that. When Miwa mocks Nico about her poor grades, Nico offers a lame excuse that she spends all her energy on her muscles. Yu then offers to help the martial arts prodigy with her studies, and the two end up awkwardly close because they are in the same class, which makes all three sisters blush. While Yu is explaining the meaning of the word suddenly to Nico, he is suddenly shoved aside by a thief who snatches a lady's handbag and makes a run for it. Yu tries to chase after him and literally begs him to stop, but his painfully slow pace only amuses the thief. Just then, Nico appears in front of the man and lashes out with a kick. The thief, however, appears to have trained in martial arts during his youth and uses those skills to deflect her strikes with ease and even attempts a counterattack. While Yu grows worried for Nico, the other two sisters remain calm as they are certain that their sibling will not be defeated so easily. Using a wall to spring herself forward, Nico finally lands a solid kick and slams the man to the ground. She picks up the stolen handbag and tells the thief that he is an absolute disgrace to martial arts. Meanwhile, a crowd gathers around her, and some people begin to recognize her as the martial arts champion. Nico returns the handbag to its owner, and while she tries to hide a bruise, Yu comes rushing over, digging quickly through his bag to find a bandage. The Mikadono sister insists it is only a minor scratch, but Yu says even scratches can hurt, and as he carefully tends to her wound, the girl blushes. At that moment, the thief gets back on his feet and tries to escape, but he is suddenly slammed against a wall by a boy named Hayato Tatsumi from Iwayama High School. The crowd stirs with excitement, whispering about how Hayato is a national champion. The Mikadono sisters recall seeing this prodigy visit their house often, and Nico calls him her senior as she asks what he is doing here. The new guy addresses Nico by her first name, which makes Yu uneasy, before he finally reveals that he is here to take her. As the story moves forward, the Iwayama karate team is introduced to Seika's team, and both sides are ready to spend the week training together. Everyone appears excited, yet the Seika team objects to use presents, demanding to know what he is doing there. The scene shifts back a little, which makes it obvious that Yu has tagged along because he wants to keep an eye on the new guy. When he asks the team about this hotshot, they tell him that Nico and Hayato trained together from the same dojo, but they warn that he is bad news since he constantly draws the attention of all the girls, which irritates the Seika boys. Just then, Nico challenges the new prodigy to a spar, and although he refuses at first, when she presses the request, he smiles and agrees, and the match begins. The Seika team cheers for Nico, hoping she will defeat him, yet she gets off to a rough start. Catching her breath, the Mikadono sister realizes her senior has reached a whole new level compared to her and asks for a rematch. But Yu steps in front of her, telling her to stop. He says she has turned into a complete mess, then turns to her senior and scolds him for not going easy on his junior. Later, as Nico and Yu hang out, she tries to ease his hostility toward Hayato by sharing that the man is her hero. She explains how, when Mr. Mikadono first took her to a dojo, she easily defeated all the older boys, and in revenge, they later tried to gang up on her. Just before she was about to be beaten, she closed her eyes, and when she opened them, Hayato had saved her and beaten them all to a pulp. She adds that Hayato moved away during middle school, and since then, they have only met at the nationals. Yet he has always been a strong source of motivation for her. Yu realizes that even Nico has someone she looks up to. Just then, Hayato appears and tells Nico that he has taken a close look at her abilities and proposes to take her with him. Everyone, including Yu, grows concerned, and when Yu protests, Hayato explains that his team intends to bring Nico along with him to his school. The Seika boys object, pointing out that his team is all boys, but Hayato replies that they have gone co-ed this year. The senior adds that he has already convinced Mr. Mikadono and urges her to join if she wishes to become stronger. He argues that everyone around her is weaker than she is, making training with them useless for her growth. The Seika boys protest that they are not weak at all, yet they fall silent when Hayato challenges them to name anyone among them capable of helping Nico improve. The Seika team grows uneasy as they all realize their captain has been carrying them the entire time. Nico steps forward to face the tall boy and tells him to stop insulting her team, insisting that coaching them has been good training for her. However, her teammates admit that Hayato has spoken the bitter truth. After they accept that they have been holding her back, Hayato once again invites her to come with him. The scene shifts to the evening, and when Nico steps out of the dojo, Yu follows her, asking if he can walk her home. Along the way, he tells her how amazing she is, that the top karate school has come all this way just to recruit her. Nico replies that there is no need to talk about it, but Yu's worry becomes clear as he admits that what matters most to him is knowing how she feels about the offer. Nico says her feelings do not matter and explains that the boarding school seems perfect for her in every way. Yu's concern deepens when he learns that it is a boarding school, and she won't be around anymore. Nico begins to think about how her past self would have accepted the chance without hesitation, but her cheeks warm when her thoughts turn to Yu. When they reach the gate of her home, she suddenly blurts out that she wants them to be together. At that moment, the entire Seika group appears in tears, shouting that they feel the same way and do not want her to leave. After a quick emotional ambush, the group rushes off in tears, leaving Nico to wonder if they are all fools. Later at dinner, Kazuki casually tells Nico that she can use her shampoo and conditioner, startling the girl completely since a single bottle of that shampoo costs at least 10,000 yen. Nico remembers how Kazuki once burst at her for accidentally using it. Even Miwa acts strangely, offering Nico some of her food, despite the fact that she is the type who never shares her favorite dishes under any circumstances. Later, while they are doing dishes, Nico complains to Yu that her sisters are being abnormally nice to her, and Yu points out that news of her possible transfer to the boarding school has reached everyone, so even her sisters do not want her to leave. After her bath, Nico glances at Yu and wonders why he only asks about her feelings but never shares his own. She finds herself thinking that she truly wants to be with him. The next day, during the training session, the Seika group struggles against the Iwayama team, and they realize that if they do not toughen up, they will soon lose their captain. Nico walks up to her senior and says in a serious tone that she is not going. While her whole team cheers at the news, the prodigy seems strongly opposed and argues that his school offers a better environment than Seika's. He tries to make her understand that both of them could perfect their martial arts together. But Nico stands her ground, and when he asks her for the reason, she only blushes. Hayato tells her to come to his school after the joint practice is over, saying he has always thought she was more than just a normal girl. At that moment, a cabinet shakes open and Yu suddenly launches out from inside, startling the guy from the Seika group. Acting with unusual seriousness, he says he has made up his mind as well. He argues that Nico will not have to leave the school if there is someone whose skills are greater than Hayato, and then he challenges the prodigy out of the blue. He puffs out his chest and thumps it like a gorilla as he declares his feelings that he, too, wants to be with Nico. His words make her blush, and Yu announces that he will win for her no matter the cost. Everyone watches him with a flicker of hope for a moment before they come back to their senses and realize that it is simply impossible. They try to convince the boy to at least look at the size difference, but when they see his determination, the whole Seika group begins to support him, saying he is the son of Subaru Ice and might have a trick up his sleeve. When Hayato hears that Yu is the son of the great prodigy herself, he smiles and remarks that Seika Academy seems to attract prodigies. He, however, makes it clear that he has no plan to go easy on the boy. Even Nico tries to make Yu understand that this is an impossible task for him, but she eventually gives up against his determination. As she blushes, the big guy Hayato accepts the duel and tells Yu the match will take place on the last day of the joint practice, after which he will take Nico with him. That night, Yu begins his practice with Nico after he has challenged the prodigy to a match in the heat of the moment. Even Nico does not plan on going easy on him, because she knows that her future now depends entirely on Yu. She starts his training by teaching him about light stepping and explains that Hayato's greatest weapon is his long-range kick, so Yu will need speed above all else. While Yu suddenly dashes toward her and tries to catch her off guard, he is immediately punched back by her and falls flat on the ground. Nico brings him some ice for his bruise, yet Yu keeps up his determination, even knowing the odds are completely against him. He tells her again that he wants to be with her, and just as she begins to blush like a tomato, he adds that he also wants to be with her sisters, which spoils all her expectations. Yu explains that he loves saying goodbye to them in the morning, and when he asks her why she is not taking the opportunity, he even gently pushes her to the wall. She finally blurts out that she likes his morning goodbyes too, and that her sisters give her motivation. She tells him she is not going to repeat herself, and just then, the door opens accidentally and reveals that the other two sisters had been eavesdropping. Kazuki announces that she is willing to help Yu prepare for his upcoming tough match, and Miwa also says she will support him in any way she can. This makes Yu smile happily as he thanks them both with the determination to win Nico from the prodigy Hayato. Later that day, Nico helps Yu train and tells him not to lag behind on his push-ups, but he sits up and tells her that he has got them covered. And we find out that in his letter of challenge to Hayato, he said that he's forbidden to use his dominant hand and foot, which only makes him angrier, but Nico admits that this is going to up their chances quite a bit. The next day, when Yu enters the house with Nico, he finds the rest of the two Mikadono sisters already waiting for them while being dressed in super cute aprons. Nico gets startled and asks what this is all about, and the sisters explain that they just wanted to support the boy. Yu appreciates their effort but throws in some mockery, pointing out how terrible they were at housework when he first came here. The two sisters immediately turn gloomy, and Kazuki adds that dinner is going to take a bit longer than usual. Nico then asks her sisters why they are so excited to cook a disaster for them, but the two show even more enthusiasm while wondering how Yu is going to love the food once he tries it. However, even after the two give it everything they have, they still cannot make anything that even resembles edible food, and Yu eventually has to step in with a proposal that he could teach the two how to cook. He argues that he does not want all of their effort to go to waste, and even makes Nico say it herself before he elaborates that she is also looking forward to tasting their cooking. With that said, Yu begins teaching the two. He first turns to Kazuki, who is busy boiling cabbage, and tells her that memorizing the recipe is the best approach since it leaves no room for mistakes. He then turns to Miwa and starts teaching her how to peel a vegetable. Looking at the prodigies giving it their all even in things they are worst at, Yu convinces himself that he too cannot allow himself to give up either. When the dish is finally ready, Nico grows flustered as she realizes it is her favorite meal and understands that the two had actually been trying to make it for her, even though their first attempt had turned out so badly that the food was beyond recognition. Kazuki tells Nico to feast on it before it gets cold, and she takes a bite, finding it surprisingly good. Yet when Yu tries to raise the spoon to eat, it slips from his hand as his arm begins shaking badly. Feeling embarrassed, Yu apologizes and explains that he has just been training too hard. And at that moment, Miwa offers her spoon to feed him, leaving the two other sisters completely shocked. Yu tells Miwa the food tastes great, which makes her blush, and Kazuki doesn't plan on being left behind either and blows gently on the bite to cool it and then feeds Yu herself. When Yu thanks her, both Kazuki and Miwa realize how good it feels to be the ones giving, since they are usually the ones being given things. Nico looks startled as she has never seen her sisters act this way before. Meanwhile, the two continue feeding Yu as if he were some kind of prince. Later that night, after Yu is done with his training, Nico appreciates him, and Kazuki brings him a towel while Miwa brings in some fresh lemon slices in honey for his fatigue. Nico gets a bit irritated by her sisters keeping up with their special treatment. Nico walks towards the boy and asks him to call it a day, as it is getting late. However, the boy keeps his spirits high and argues that he can still keep going. The next day, with only 2 days left before the grand match, Hayato walks down the hallway while recalling how much more enthusiastic Nico used to be. For her, strength had always been everything. Yet when she finally got the chance, she turned him down and refused to go with him. At that moment, Nico steps in front of him and greets him with a simple hi. Her senpai tells her that her spirit has grown weak and that instead of making her own decisions, she is depending on that loser kid. Calling it pathetic, he tells her that she is not this weak. Hayato then walks away, declaring that in 2 days, he will defeat Sabara's son and then take her to his school to beat her back into form. That day, while Nico is teaching Yu, she points out that his punches are actually getting stronger, but her mind keeps drifting back to what Hayato said about her relying on others. She apologizes to Yu for dragging him into her problems, admitting that she is the one who is supposed to be stronger. Her thoughts circle around Hayato, her father, and her team, who expect her to always be strong. She feels that everyone sees her as someone they can depend on, and even though she does want to be stronger, deep down she knows that this is not all she is. She remembers how scared she felt when fighting the big guy and how tempted she became by girlish things. And now she keeps hearing the voices of people, and even Mr. Mikadono echoing in her head, that she does not need to be feminine. This is why she has become too indecisive to choose between being feminine and being stronger. And she has always forced herself to believe that the real Nico Mikadono is not a feminine person. When she apologizes to Yu again for dragging him into her mess, he tells her that he was the one who challenged Tatsumi, but he also says that she has been acting far more out of character than she realizes, which hits her hard. Yu explains that when he first met her, he thought she was a monster, but after spending time with her, he realized that was not true, since she turned out to be managed and even curious about beauty, fashion, and flowers. Nico freaks out and bursts at him, shouting that she never asked him to spy on her, but Yu apologizes and says she was just too strong, and seeing her like that felt like a new side of her. As she gets flustered and turns away, Yu tells her that he never once thought it was weird. He explains that there is no wrong or right side to a person, and that her being strong, but also sometimes vulnerable, is the real Nico. Hearing this, she gets embarrassed and punches him so hard that he flies away and slams onto the floor. As Nico sits away in embarrassment, she admits that she wants to make her own choices, but also confesses that she wants his help too. While she argues about how indecisive she is, Yu walks up to her and tells her that the two of them will fight Hayato together, asking her to leave everything to him. The next day, both Kazuki and Miwa rush through their rehearsals, eager to finish quickly so they can come straight to watch Yu's match. Back at the match location, Yu and Nico stand before Hayato. Hayato demands an explanation from Nico about what she is doing here, but Yu steps forward with confidence and demands 2 matches from the big shot. He argues that since Hayato wants to take Nico away to make her stronger, if she defeats him then there will be no need to recruit her. After declaring this, he bows deeply before Hayato and begs him to let her stay, even if he loses against either of them. Nico's team sees Yu's actions as cheap, but the champion Hayato makes no excuses and accepts the unfair proposal. As the crowd begins talking trash about Yu, Nico grows worried and tells him he is making himself look like a villain in front of everyone. Yu, however, pays no attention, saying this is all part of his plan to protect her. Yu explains to Nico that he will be the one to go first and that his goal is to hurt the champion enough to give her a lead. Nico puts it into clearer words, asking if he actually means to be a sacrificial lamb. As the match is about to begin, Yu's hand starts trembling with fear, and Nico quickly rushes over, holding his hands as she tells him to stop being scared. When Yu steps into the battlefield, Hayato vows to take Nico with him. But Yu shows no fear as he declares that he will prove the results of training with Nico for an entire week. Yu manages to raise everyone's hopes, and just when it feels like something might actually happen, those hopes are crushed as the boy is beaten to a pulp instantly. People, however, do not blame him since he had trained for only 1 week. Yu makes his way back to Nico and apologizes for losing so miserably. She tells him it was the right choice to let her in and admits she realizes that he truly put in real effort throughout the whole week. With that, Nico walks onto the battlefield for her match and feels a surge of determination when Yu tells her to do her best. As the fight begins, Nico lands the first blow and starts off strong with her incredible speed. She knows that the only way to win is to get closer to her senpai, and she even manages to apparently push Hayato onto the defensive. Her teammates cheer with excitement, and the one with gray hair randomly nicknames her the Thunderbolt of Seika. Nico begins to worry as she wonders why her senpai is fighting only on the defensive. It feels to her as if he is shouting that he can already predict her every move. At that moment, Hayato smiles and lands a solid middle punch on her. While watching her fight, Hayato thinks about Nico's style. He knows how quick she is and that her karate form is a perfect textbook example of how to fight. But the problem is that she never strays from convention, which makes her far too predictable. Nico attempts an upper kick, but she fails, and Hayato immediately scores another point with a second middle punch, leaving her only 1 point away from defeat. Losing her confidence, Nico hears Hayato telling her that this has been enough embarrassment for her and asking her to go with him already. Just as she is about to admit defeat and let go of her dream, Yu shouts out to her, and he has even managed to create an instant cheerleading team, convincing the Seika group that it is important for her to win. Startled by this, Nico argues at first, but then she realizes this kid has always been this weird, and she actually laughs as she thinks about it. She finally regains her strength as she remembers Yu telling her that it is okay to be vulnerable at times. Finding her true self, she feels a new sense of confidence, and even Hayato notices that something about her has suddenly changed. When Nico charges at him this time, her moves turn unpredictable, and she manages to land an upper kick with a clever feint. Following that, she fakes a straight jab, suddenly leaps up, and uses a backhanded blow before flowing right into another unconventional move. Even Team Seika looks startled since they have never seen Nico pull off tricky moves in a match before. Yu watches her smile during the fight as she brings the score level with Hayato. Just then, her sisters arrive, worried about how things will end, and as they step in, Hayato realizes that this is no longer the same Nico. But Nico assures him that this side of her is her as well. With those words, she lands one last upper kick and knocks him out for good. Team Seika erupts with excitement over her remarkable victory, and Nico turns to Yu with a blush on her face. Yu rushes toward her with a towel to wipe away her tears, and she leans her head on his shoulder, softly asking if she is allowed to cry after a win. That evening, as Hayato gets ready to leave, Nico apologizes for not going with him, even though he had been trying to recruit her for her own good. Hayato sighs but manages a small smile, saying that it is all over now. Nico then mentions that she couldn't believe how quickly Yu lost and wonders what would have happened if Hayato had faced him alone. Hayato admits that the boy actually managed to hurt him and shows a mark on his right leg as proof. He explains that Yu had been focused on that one spot all along, which kept him from evading her final kick and led to his defeat. Before leaving, he tells Nico that the only reason Yu didn't want her to leave was that he genuinely cares about her. Nico blushes as she comes up with random excuses. Hayato then admits that even though he wanted to push her to get stronger, he also had personal reasons, and finally confesses that he likes her. Nico doesn't back down and simply tells him that she likes him a lot too. Seeing this, Hayato drops to his knees, realizing that she hasn't understood him at all, and firmly tells her that he has feelings for her. Nico panics and asks how long he has felt that way, and he admits he has liked her forever. He tells her he wants to be with her and asks what she thinks. But when she can't answer, he says she doesn't have to and praises her for how much she has grown before leaving. After he walks away, Nico realizes she might have feelings for Yu and flushes completely, quickly brushing the thought aside, telling herself it's not like her to dwell on such things. Still, no matter how hard she tries, she keeps thinking about him and remembers how he told her that all of her sides make her who she is and that there is no right or wrong. Even though her match is over, her heart keeps racing. That night, as Nico heads home, she's irritated that her siblings and Yu left her alone without her, right after her match ended. But when she steps inside, the house is decorated to celebrate her, and Yu greets her warmly. They've prepared a little party, and Yu asks if she can wait a bit since dinner will take some time. Nico notices his hands are covered in bandages and tells him to let them rest and heal. But Yu insists he's fine, and since he didn't do much in the fight, he at least wants to cook for her. Miwa helps Kazuki set the table while Nico places her hand over Yu's, reminding him that he's the one who said even minor scratches hurt. She asks if he ever wants anything for himself and points out that he's worked hard all week for her, so she could at least do one thing for her. She tells him to name anything, and she'll make it happen. Yu, acting like a mischievous villain, asks if it could be anything and demands that she be his for a whole day. Nico protests, insisting she has boundaries, while the other two sisters worry about how close Nico and Yu might get and refuse to leave them alone. Kazuki quickly comes up with an idea, telling Yu that he can use her for a favor too, and Miwa joins in. Yu still plays the villain, claiming he could have all three of them, before making his best childish face and asking them to go to a theme park with him. The three girls have mixed feelings, wondering if Yu is acting like a kid or a girl, and Nico asks if that's really all he wants. Yu happily explains that it's been his dream to go to a theme park as a family. The girls worry everyone might mistake it for a date since they are all teenagers, but just then Nico's cell phone rings, and she gets a call from their dad. Yu snatches the phone and tells the uncle that even prodigies need a day or two to relax. He argues that if they are forced to be perfect all the time, there's a high chance they'll burn out when it actually matters. He urges him to be brave and give his girls a meaningful break, reminding him of the last event where he got mad and insisting that this time, a break would truly benefit them. Mr. Mikadono coldly tells Yu to give the phone back to Nico, and the poor boy immediately turns into a scaredy cat. He then tells his daughter that he recently heard about her win against Hayato, who is the country's best high school karate practitioner, and admits he never imagined she could win even in an unofficial match. He adds that while he once thought she should attend Hayato's school, he now sees it isn't necessary. He praises her, and Kazuki explains it's only because she outperformed his expectations. Because of this, he does consider Yu's words for once and allows them to have a day off. Yu cheers up with excitement and announces they'll go to the theme park next Sunday. The following day, the three sisters can barely think about anything else, as their minds are completely consumed by the upcoming trip. As the scene shifts, the day finally arrives, and Yu is waiting for the three sisters. Miwa shows up first, covering his eyes and asking if he can recognize her. Yu immediately knows it's her and notes that she clearly tried her best to outdress her sisters. He tells her that the casual look actually suits her, making her smile. When Kazuki arrives, she is so heavily disguised that even Miwa can't recognize her, and Yu admits he likes the new look, causing Kazuki to blush. Just then, the third sister appears, more stunning than ever, and everyone stares at her. Kazuki teases her, asking why she went for full makeup. As the sisters bicker, Yu turns to Nico and tells her she looks fantastic, making her blush as she admits she had brought these clothes long ago, but always kept them tucked away in her closet. As they are all now here, Yu argues that they should head inside right away. The three sisters stare at him, each silently plotting how to make the boy swoon. As they enter, they arrive at the haunted house, and both Yu and Kazuki seem eager to go inside. Yu argues that since it's a collaboration with the scariest horror movie, it has to be a thrilling experience. Meanwhile, Miwa and Nico quickly realize that Kazuki must be trying to make her move on Yu just like they are, and Kazuki looks back at them as she is determined to be the first to win Yu over. She vows to show just how well she has mastered the role of the heroine, planning to act completely terrified while leaning on him like some dramatic character. However, as soon as they step inside, Kazuki immediately forgets her whole plan. The moment people start trying to scare her, she begins commenting on the acting of the performer, completely forgetting that she wasn't there to critique at all. She tries to bring tears to her eyes and crouches down, preparing to approach Yu. But when she looks around, he is nowhere to be found. Eventually, when she finally spots him, the boy is sitting down, completely frozen and super scared by everything happening around him. She tries to comfort him by telling him it's all made up and he shouldn't be frightened. But Yu immediately comes up with some excuse about falling because of the dark and tells her to watch her step too. Just then, hands suddenly pop out from the wall, and he freaks out instantly, leaving Kazuki to play the comforting role she originally wanted Yu to play. Meanwhile, the other two sisters anxiously wait outside, worried that Kazuki would cling to him at every opportunity. But when they finally return, they find Yu being carried on Kazuki's back, and instead of blushing, Kazuki looks paler than a ghost. Yu apologizes to Kazuki for looking like an idiot, but admits he's glad she came with him, saying that clinging to her back calmed his nerves. Kazuki miserably loses the fight, ending up blushing first, while Miwa smirks, realizing her sister is the weakest of them, and begins planning how she will try next to win Yu's heart. A while later, when they reach the roller coaster, Yu asks Miwa if she wants to ride, and she quickly agrees, though she admits she isn't very good with scary rides and asks him to sit with her. Kazuki argues that she also wanted to go, but worries her wig would come off, and Nico refuses to go either. As Miwa sits with Yu on the roller coaster, she silently laughs, realizing she had lied about being scared and is actually very good with fast rides. Meanwhile, Yu doesn't look very comfortable sitting beside her. Miwa daydreams, acting like some helpless girl and making Yu hold her, and when the ride ends, she pretends to be dizzy and asks Yu if they could sit on a bench, but once again, he is nowhere to be seen. When she looks around, she finds him lying down on a bench and rushes over, asking why he's just lying there. Yu admits that he's always been a chicken when it comes to scary rides and only went on this one because he wanted to ride with her. This makes Miwa blush, and she gives him a pillow on her lap, turning completely red like a fresh tomato and utterly losing the battle. Next, Nico seems determined to swoon the boy to death as she takes him on the coffee cups. She claims she likes attractions where they can control the speed themselves and act all cool on the outside. But deep down, she's plotting that with her strength, she's going to spin the cup faster than a washing machine and finally win the boy's heart. As they sit on the cup, Yu exerts a little too much force and almost crashes into Nico. She screams, and when he really gets too close, she punches him away but barely holds him by the back of his collar. The two sisters watching realize that Nico never really had a chance. After miserably failing, the girls now try to make the boy blush while eating. First, Miwa plucks a tiny grain from Yu's face and pops it into her mouth, hoping he would blush, but instead, he does the same to her, leaving Miwa completely red. Next, it's Kazuki's turn, and she brings a 2-straw drink, hoping to sip together with Yu, but just as he takes a sip, she shouts at him to back up and ruins her plan again. Finally, it's Nico's turn, but she ends up liking the churros so much that she completely forgets her intentions and thanks Yu for helping her try them. None of the sisters managed to succeed in any of their schemes, and it was finally time to head back home. The girls wondered why Yu had asked them to come along when he himself couldn't handle any of the attractions, making them realize that maybe he actually wanted to come as a family. Nico grabs his phone and takes a selfie, asking him to keep it as a memento. She admits that she had a blast and agrees that if he hadn't brought them here, they would have never come at all. The other two sisters praise the boy as well, telling him that he was doing great as their supporter. All three thank him, which actually makes the boy blush, and the sisters realize just how easy it had been. While all this time they have been trying various complicated schemes that ended in total failure. On the train ride home, Miwa spots a poster showing her going up against Sakura Yaotome and thinks to herself that she doesn't want to go back just yet. The next morning, Miko and Kazuki feel more motivated than ever, and the sisters remind themselves just how important it is to nourish their minds once in a while. Just then, Yu comes rushing over and wishes the Mikadono sisters a safe practice. They reply in perfect sync, which makes them both blush. After they leave, Yu heads back to begin the day's chores, remembering how Miwa left early today. When he spots her bag sitting on a shelf, he panics as he realizes she forgot her lunch. Knowing how much she loves her meals, he decides to take it along and deliver it to her, wondering if today's match is so important that she didn't even think about bringing food. On the way, Yu stumbles across a bookworm and finds her a little odd since it's rare to see someone reading while walking on a sunny day. She bumps her head into an electricity pole, and just when it looks like she's about to trip over some paving under construction, Yu rushes toward her, but she walks across him. The girl notices him and asks if he needs something. Yu notices how much she has been sweating without realizing it herself, so he offers her a dried plum. He explains that it will restore the salt, vitamin C, and minerals she lost from sweating, tells her to try it, and then runs off. The girl wonders who even carries dried plums in this kind of weather, but then pulls one out of her own pocket and realizes the boy is just like her. Yu finally makes it to the shogi center, where he witnesses his first ever shogi match. He spots Miwa at her board and finds her pretty cool with the way she sits there so composed. Yu asks the guy standing beside him if Miwa is winning, but the man instead asks who Yu is. He then explains that Miwa is a title holder, and though her skills are far superior, her opponent came prepared to deal with her style, which has put her under pressure. But he admits she still has a chance to make a comeback. As Yu watches, he sees her tense yet completely focused, and he realizes it is difficult to even approach her during the match. The game goes on until the man suddenly lights up, pointing out Miwa's habit of licking her tongue whenever she is sure of her victory, saying that once she does that, her opponent has no way to fight back. It happens just as he says, and her opponent concedes, giving Miwa the win. She lets out a sigh of relief, and Yu rushes over to her with a smile that makes her blush. But when he tells her how cool she looked compared to how she is at home, Miwa complains that his comment is rather rude. When Yu jokes that he should have taken her photo, Miwa quickly protests that she doesn't want people to see her and explains that she hates being seen as someone cool. Then she asks him what he is even doing there. Yu takes out her purse and says that playing shogi would drain her stamina, so he brought her plenty of side dishes. After handing her the lunch, he is about to leave, but Miwa stops him and asks if he wants to eat together. Yu finds it cute and tells her he will just go buy something nearby. But before he can, the girl from earlier dashes in, snatches Miwa's bag, and insists she has found the reason behind Miwa's recent poor performances. The scene shifts with the new girl now joining in for the meal, though Miwa is clearly not happy about her stealing her lunch. As the story rewinds, the girl argues that she can't believe Miwa has a boy cooking for her and blames him for her recent struggles, declaring she will confiscate the lunch. But Miwa yanks the bag back. The girl then makes a scene, claiming that her biggest rival is fighting over some stupid lunchbox, and Yu, overhearing the word rival, lights up in excitement and states that they will be the best of friends as well as rivals. The new girl gets excited and introduces herself as Miwa's eternal rival, Sakura Yaotome, but Miwa doesn't take it seriously as she argues that she is always the one winning all of their matches, even the private ones, and points out that Sakura hasn't won a single time against her. Sakura fires back, admitting that while Miwa's winning rate hasn't dropped, she doesn't see her at her usual capacity anymore, reminding her that the real Miwa would normally annihilate her opponent within seconds. She keeps shouting about how Miwa isn't in her usual form until she runs out of breath, then declares that she has finally earned the right to challenge her title and tells her that she is done for. Yu, however, can only notice how much Sakura seems to like Miwa, and Sakura excuses it by saying that, as her rival, she is bound to study her in full depth. After that, she continues following them around and ends up forcefully joining them for lunch, claiming it is part of her observation. Miwa tries to stop her by saying she cannot share her lunch with her, but Sakura boasts that she has brought her own, and the moment she opens the lid of her box, everyone is overwhelmed by some black matter radiating out of it. Miwa looks horrified and asks if she is really going to eat trash, But Sakura insists that it is fried eggs, and explains that because she is busy with her scientific research, she doesn't really care what her lunch looks like. Just then, a dog barks and knocks Sakura's lunch away, making her rush to catch it. But as she stumbles, Yu quickly follows and catches her before she falls. He helps her up and asks if she is alright, which makes Sakura blush while Miwa's mouth hangs open before she bursts out in anger. Feeling the pressure, Sakura suddenly slaps Yu and accuses him of being perverted, declaring that if she gets in trouble over this, she will put all the responsibility on him. Yu then hands her the rice ball he had also managed to catch, and while Sakura thanks him at first, she immediately gets mad again, arguing that she cannot possibly eat it. By this time, Miwa notices something strange, pointing out how Yu and Sakura actually look quite alike. Miwa asks how long Sakura plans on staying clung to Yu, and Sakura snaps back, saying it shouldn't concern her and that she should instead focus on her own match strategy. Miwa retorts that she doesn't need her telling her what to do, while Yu laughs, commenting how Miwa always seemed so lonely at school, but here she looked really cool. As the two girls continue to quarrel, Yu can't help but see their bond as a cute kind of friendship. Miwa, annoyed, stops pinching Sakura's cheeks and insists to Yu that they aren't friends at all, while Sakura immediately agrees and says they are rivals instead. The quarrel starts up again, and Yu just watches both of them with a smile. Sakura had become a professional shogi athlete right after entering her first year of high school, yet she remained a buried existence among the prodigies. She kept up with her extensive research, which showed real progress, and she was the type to give it her all with an iron will to fight her way to the title match. Miwa, on the other hand, became the youngest to hold a title and had never once lost to Sakura. Their levels were clearly apart, and no one ever considered Sakura her rival, except for Sakura herself. As a week passes, the day of the first match of the title tournament finally arrives. Yu tries to sneak out early in the morning while Miwa is still asleep, but as soon as he steps outside, he finds the other two sisters there as well. They all question why the others are up so early, only to realize that they were all hoping to visit a shrine and pray for Miwa's good luck. When the three arrive, they are surprised to see Sakura already there. Yu asks if she also came to pray, admitting he never imagined someone like her, who spends all her time on research, to have such faith. Sakura argues that, as much as she hates to admit it, she is actually inferior to Miwa, so she is willing to rely on any chance she has to win the match. She then asks Yu who he is, and Yu explains his situation, telling her that he is working as their supporter. When Sakura looks a little surprised, Yu adds that since he is so mediocre, this is the only thing he is good at. The girl protests against Yu's supporting role, saying it isn't right for him to just do household chores and live like some average background character. She tells him that the spotlight isn't only for geniuses, then argues that she is the main character of her own life and refuses to give up on becoming one. She adds that she once thought they were alike, but now realizes she was wrong. She then walks away as she declares that she will be the winner. Yet, right as she tries to leave with such seriousness, she trips a few steps ahead, proving just how hopeless she can be. Just like Yu, this is only confirmed when Yu rushes to help her, but stumbles over the same spot and lands right on top of her. The two sisters shout in shock at the sight, while Sakura quickly pushes Yu off, yelling at him to get away. Yu tells her that this only proves how similar they truly are, which makes the girl turn red as a tomato. Unable to bear with Sakura any longer, the sisters unleash their fiery aura as they pray that Miwa absolutely crushes her in the match. Sakura then scrambles up and runs off, saying she has no time to waste since she still has a final push left. As the story skips ahead, the match between the reigning champion and Sakura has already started, and both of them look dead serious while Yu is glued to the stream on his cell phone. The two other sisters casually tell him that there's no need to be so tense since the tournament is best of 5, meaning today's match doesn't decide anything. Yu shakes his head and explains that the format has changed due to some strange scheduling issue, turning it into a short-term competition where the first game now carries real weight. Even after hearing this, the two sisters stay calm and remind him that Miwa has never once lost to Sakura. After some time, all three of them are now sitting together, nervously watching the screen. Yu pulls the sisters closer, urging them to keep watching with him, but the two slip away again, insisting their sister won't lose anyway. But then, to everyone's surprise, Miwa ends up conceding the first match. Yu starts to panic, But the sisters try to settle him down, which makes you think they're tough enough to have already prepared themselves for the possibility of defeat. That illusion doesn't last long, because when they return to their rooms, their reactions tell a completely different story. Yu begins preparing dinner and customizes the whole meal with a cat theme, saying it's meant to cheer Miwa up. When she returns, Yu greets her warmly, and the two sisters also try to comfort her. But Miwa insists she isn't in the mood for dinner. When Yu asks if she isn't hungry, she explains that she needs to focus on research for her next match and shuts herself in her room for the night. After hours of studying, she feels like she could use some sugar but finds nothing, only to discover her sisters have quietly left sweets outside her door. Just as she reaches for them, she gets startled by the sound of Yu's nose bubble popping as he dozes by the door. She tells him to go to his room, but Yu replies that he has been waiting for her because the snack he made still needed a final touch. He brings her to the kitchen and presents a late-night treat, which is a round black ball made from her favorite chocolate. He then finishes it off by pouring hot chocolate over it. As the shell melts, a bunch of tiny cat shapes appear inside, making Miwa's eyes light up. She blushes and says she'll gladly eat it without caring about calories in the slightest. As the story moves forward, another week passes and Miwa ends up losing her second match against Sakura. Yu rushes to check on her, refusing to believe that Miwa has lost twice in a row to someone she had never once lost to even during practice mocks. He recalls hearing from the Mikadono sisters that the title matches are decided in a best 3 out of 5 format, which means Miwa still has a chance. Yu hurries into the hall where Miwa had been playing and calls out her name, but finds Sakura instead, who coldly informs him that Miwa has left. Sakura then mocks Miwa, calling her a washed-up loser and blaming her defeat on relying too much on her natural brain power instead of putting in proper research and preparation. She carries herself proudly, but her trash talk only stirs Yu's anger, and though it seems for a moment he might lash out, he instead surprises her by bowing and thanking her. He explains that from her own words, if Miwa trains hard and builds a proper game plan, she can still make a comeback, and deep down, he feels that Sakura's harsh remarks are really her way of telling him to go and comfort Miwa. Hearing that, Sakura's face burns red as she protests that she never meant anything like that, while Yu calmly points out that from the way it looks, she had been waiting for him to arrive to tell him just this. Before leaving, he even praises her impressive opening move during the game and reminds her that this is far from the end for Miwa. When Yu returns home, he finds the two Mikadono sisters looking disgusted and quickly asks if something has happened. They explain that Miwa did come back, but not long after, she suddenly ran out of the house. Yu grows worried, pointing out that she was already devastated from her loss. Yet the sisters argue that Miwa is much stronger than she looks, and they are sure she wouldn't let herself sink into despair so easily. They tried to cheer her up by reminding her that all she needs to do is win 3 matches, and that failure isn't the end of the world. But Miwa only gave them a frightening glare and told them she isn't like them at all. Kazuki admits that their attempt at giving advice only seemed to irritate her more, and now they feel even more concerned about what state she might be in. Without wasting another second, Yu bolts out the door to search for Miwa across the city, and asks the Mikadono sisters to stay behind in case she returns home. Soon rain begins pouring down, but Yu doesn't care in the slightest as he runs through the streets with his mind fixed on figuring out what could have made Miwa so upset. Following his instincts, he heads straight for a cat-themed cafe, and there, he finally finds Miwa sitting quietly and playing with a cat. Yu walks in and warmly tells Miwa just how relieved he is to see her safe and sound. Miwa, however, shoots back by asking what exactly he thought she would be doing, and Yu can only picture her sitting alone under some bridge, catching a cold in the rain. A waitress steps in and hands him a towel to dry off, after which he takes a seat across from her and asks if she comes to this cafe often. Miwa explains that it's only on rare occasions, since their lives are far too hectic to care for pets. Plus, Kazuki is a little allergic to them. She reasons that with their sloppy housekeeping skills, taking in a kitten would only count as cruelty, so she simply avoids it. Trying to encourage her, Yu points out that she has only lost 2 matches, and now that her spirit is back, she should easily be able to take down Sakura next time. Instead of being fired up, Miwa presses her face into a cat's fur like a total weirdo, deeply inhaling its scent, before quietly replying that professional shogi players dedicate their entire lives to the game, spending every waking moment studying and researching because, for them, shogi is a passion for which they live. Yu tells her that he believes in her, but Miwa begins to cry inside as she admits that her relationship with shogi has never been what others might imagine. Since when she was just a child, her father told her she was born with a natural talent that no one could ever earn through practice alone, and he gave her 3 options from board games. And she ended up choosing shogi, where she shattered records as the youngest champion and made her father proud. Yet in truth, all she ever wanted was to catch up to her sisters. That was the reason she picked up the board in the first place. She remembers asking her sisters one day why they worked so hard, only to hear Kazuki reply that she loved shining brightly when standing on stage. Although her sisters always spoke about their passion with conviction, Miwa could never find satisfaction in those words. Deep down, she saw them chasing their dreams while she herself was only using shogi as a tool to achieve recognition. That thought alone made her feel like nothing but a failure compared to them. This makes you realize what she meant when she snapped at her sisters earlier and told them that she is nothing like them. She continues that shogi is brutally competitive to the point of being frightening, where you can almost sense the obsession of the opponent sitting across from you. As she speaks, the weight of her shallow commitment crushes her. She admits through sobs that she always knew the day would come when she would start losing matches. Finally, she breaks down into heavy tears, and her voice starts trembling, while Yu gently pats her head and thanks her sincerely for trusting him enough to let him see this side of her. Miwa keeps crying and says she doesn't want to go home, and Yu replies that he isn't planning to let her head back this early either. His words make her blush, and he holds her hand and takes her outside. All she notices around them are hotels for couples, which makes her nervous as her mind races with what kind of twisted ideas Yu might have come up with. To her surprise, he simply leads her to the Hinokumiya superstore, bluffing that it is the largest one in the area. Miwa asks if he just wanted to do some shopping before heading home, but Yu explains that Kazuki and Nico thought Miwa had left the house because of them, so he figured it would be nice to bring them some gifts. Miwa actually likes the idea, and when Yu asks if she knows their favorite treats, she thinks for a moment. She says Kazuki might enjoy something bittersweet, and since she drinks coffee so often, coffee jelly could be perfect. As for Nico, Miwa recalls how her sister has been obsessed with buying cute things lately, so she hopes that a small, adorable cupcake might cheer her up. Yu agrees and suggests they bake them with a natural sweetener, using no calories or sugar, and together they buy everything they need. Later, the two head straight to the school, and while Yu can't believe how they managed to get in so late at night, Miwa asks what they are even doing there. Yu explains that he wants to cook first so the surprise at home doesn't get spoiled, and he quickly sets himself up in the school's kitchen. Miwa watches and asks how he's so good at cooking, joking that he's actually a failure with some hidden talent. Yu shrugs her off, saying he's just really bad at most other things, which makes his mediocre cooking skills seem better than they are. He recalls how, as a kid, he found everything difficult and could never measure up to his mother, who was so skilled that he ended up avoiding her altogether. One day, he tried making breakfast for himself, and when his mother took a bite, she praised him for cooking such a delicious meal. That single compliment made him so happy that he wanted to see her smile again, which is why he kept practicing. But no matter how hard he tried, his dishes always turned out tasting bad, even if they looked appetizing, and eventually, with his mother always too busy to care, he gave up. Things only changed when she was hospitalized, and while visiting her one day, Yu asked if she needed anything from the store. At first, she turned her face away, but as he started walking off, she quietly told him that what she really wanted was to eat something he made. Yu went straight to her doctor and asked about her allergies and the foods he should avoid, then studied every cooking book he could get his hands on, enduring countless failures until he finally baked something his mother genuinely loved and even asked him to make more of. From then on, Yu continued preparing meals throughout her stay in the hospital, and over time, as he thought about how his cooking had made his mother smile and how it could bring happiness to others, his skills gradually improved. He told Miwa that she probably felt something similar when buying things for her sisters, imagining their reactions when they received them. Miwa instantly denied it in embarrassment, but Yu brushed it off and asked her to help with the finishing touches. While they worked, he brought up what she had confessed earlier at the cafe about feeling shallow and different from her sisters, telling her that the simple desire for recognition already showed she wanted to make her father proud. Miwa blushed hard, protesting that it wasn't her motivation at all. But Yu went on to say that it was perfectly fine, because some people push themselves forward simply to make the people they love proud. At that moment, Yu noticed the gifts for her sisters were ready and mentioned how much they were going to love them, while the very thought of making both her sisters and her father proud once again turned Miwa's face as red as an oven. Later, after Yu falls asleep from all his efforts, Miwa stays awake, recalling the events of the day, and notices a marshmallow lying nearby, which she uses to shape a sweet that ends up looking a little like Yu. She thanks the marshmallow as if it were him, and even smushes it gently on what looks like its forehead. When they return home, the two Mikadono sisters scold Yu for coming back so late. But Miwa steps forward to defend him, admitting that it was her fault and presenting the gifts they had made, explaining that Yu had helped her prepare them. She even apologizes for being so harsh with them earlier. When the sisters ask if she really cooked them herself, Yu quickly steps in and says it's true, adding that he only gave her a hand. The sisters begin tasting, and while Kazuki finds hers delicious, Nico can't help but compare and argue that hers looks fancier, only for Kazuki to brush her off by saying that too much decoration isn't ideal. Nico refuses to back down, insisting hers took more effort, until Yu cuts in coldly, asking if they could stop turning a peace offering into another argument. Miwa then turns to Yu, apologizing for putting him through so much trouble, and shyly presents him with the one she made just for him. Yu gladly accepts the cute gift, while the other sisters watch curiously, pointing out how much it actually resembles him, except for the fact that the hairline looks like it's receding. Realizing what she accidentally did, Miwa blushes furiously. The next day, it's finally the time for the third match, and this time, Miwa holds her head high as she appears to be determined to face her opponent with the best of her abilities. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.